wanna I wanna move into our next segment here, so I've got to close the screen for a second. We have got a real treat for you tonight. Our next speaker is a very good friend of mine, who I've had the pleasure of vacation with at and love Nancy are two of the most gracious and loving people I've ever met. They made me and Cheryl, my wife, but we almost didn't want to leave the house. But Dr. Fran is a retired dental specialist with over 30 years of success. He has reached top ranks for companies, built teams of thousands of people during his career, and thrives on helping his team members achieve success. Dr. Fran has served as an associate advisory board and medical advisory board in the industry and has been sought after presenter, trainer, motivator, coach, and mentor, and is a $1 million plus earner in our industry. And Dr. Fran's wisdom when it comes to the areas of business and marketing is what I look to and rely on every day. And you're in for a real treat tonight as he takes us through the 21 laws of leadership. He calls me the Wizard of Oz, but actually he's the Wizard of Wise. And without further delay, here's Dr. Fran.
Well, Casper, thanks so much. How am I coming through?
You're coming through just fine.
Well, I appreciate it. And good evening, everyone. It's a total delight. Casey, thank you for joining us on our Tuesday night webinar. That was a real treat. And, you know, that's a very compelling story with the calculator. And, you know, it certainly brings to the forefront the whole purpose of business, of course, is to make money. And you know, it is interesting how too many of us get jaded into believing that, you know, you're not really making money until you make a lot of money. And, you know, we often forget that the journey of 1,000 miles starts with a single step. And when you see the simplicity, and if you're willing to grant God the time to unfold the abundance that he intends for all of us, and just always keep the faith and the vision that your small steps lead and will ultimately take you over the top of the highest mountain, we can, in fact, achieve miracles in our lives with whatever we set our heart and our intention on. So I really enjoyed your training tonight. It was heartfelt. It was valuable. It was spot on. And it will be absolutely exciting to watch it unfold for hundreds of thousands of distributors that have come in to your company and put their heart into it and put their faith into it and are staying the course with you. So, and good evening, everyone. I'm delighted that so many of you have come out tonight. You know, Kes, we ought to have Casey on more often because he certainly does unlock the floodgates of attendance, doesn't he?
Exactly.
I don't know, you know, but a great leader brings out the people. So my hat's off to you, Casey. And John, you did a great job as well. So thanks for your words. I'm delighted to continue on with our series here on the 21 irrefutable laws of leadership, and we're at week 13. Lucky week 13, and as I said last time, the 13th law is called the law of reproduction. And you know, I know now a lot. Maybe that's the other reason we have so many people on the call tonight. They thought I was going to talk about reproduction, but we're going to talk about it in a different sense than most of us are well versed in. And the law of reproduction is really summed up in the subline for it. And the next slide, Casper. The law of reproduction is it takes a leader to raise up a leader. Now, John Maxwell, who is regarded widely as one of the greatest trainers and teachers on leadership, conducted a survey to determine how people became leaders. And it was really quite interesting, and the results of that survey are shown in our next slide. Becoming a leader. Slide 2, Casper. Am I still with you?
Yes, you are.
Yeah. All right. Here we go, becoming a leader. And he looked at how people became leaders. And what they found is that there were three primary mechanisms. And the first is that group of people who have natural gifting. And that comprised about 10% of the leaders that are out there that are recognized as significant leaders. The second group came as the result of a crisis within their group where they found within themselves the strength to be the leader and lead that group through the crisis, and then became recognized as the leader of the group. And that comprised about 5% of the total leaders surveyed. But by the largest count, most of the leaders raise up as a result of the influence of another leader. 85% of the leaders that you will follow in your life, regardless of your group, regardless of the industry, regardless of what area we're in, every area has leaders. 85% of the strong leaders that you will follow have risen up as the result of the influence of another leader. And if you've ever given much thought to the origins of leadership, you're probably not really surprised by these figures. It's true that a few people step into leadership because their organizations experience a crisis, as I mentioned, but they're compelled to do something about it. Another small group is comprised of people with great natural gifts and instincts to navigate their way into leadership on their own. But as we can see here, more than 4 out of 5 of all the leaders that you've ever met will emerge as leaders because of the impact made on them by established leaders who mentored them. And folks, this happens because of the law of reproduction. It takes a leader to raise up a leader. Next slide, Casper. Now, it really takes a strong leader to raise up leaders. And the principle holds true regardless of the group that you look at. You know, for instance, you'll find the law of reproduction is very much at work in the arena of professional football. Did you know that the development and mentoring of half the head coaches in the NFL today can be traced to two outstanding former pro football leaders, Bill Walsh and Tom Landry? If nothing else proves the impact of having strong leaders to raise up future leaders, that single fact does. It takes a leader to raise up a leader. Now, some do it and some don't. And in the chapter on the law of respect, I explained that people naturally follow leaders stronger than themselves. And in the same way, only leaders are capable of developing other leaders. People cannot give to others what they themselves do not possess. And just because a person is a leader, it doesn't necessarily mean that they are capable of raising up other leaders. And in fact, for every Bill Walsh or Tom Landry, there's a Vince Lombardi, a person who's a great coach and a great leader in his own right, but he really didn't raise up other great coaches to follow in his footsteps as did his predecessors. Now, why don't all leaders develop others? Well, folks, there's a lot of reasons. Sometimes they just don't recognize the tremendous value of developing leaders, and I'm going to talk more about that value in the chapter on the law of explosive growth coming up. Others may focus so much of their time and attention on really helping their followers and give them so much of themselves that they really don't have much left over to develop key staff or other leaders to lighten their load. And I would suspect that was probably the case with Vince Lombardi. For other leaders, unfortunately, the real problem may be insecurity. And remember what we learned in the law of empowerment. Only secure leaders have the courage to give power to other leaders. And, you know, I've observed over the years in the industry and in multiple groups outside of this industry that as a leader, you're either preventing other leaders from raising up or you're raising them up. Now, it's an interesting thing. To keep others down or to push others down, you know, you have to bend over yourself to go lower to push them lower. And you know, the lower you want them to go, the lower you have to go. And you know, that's the way it is in leadership as well. To keep others down, you're actually going down with them. Next slide, please. We teach what we know and we reproduce what we are. And to be a better leader, I've continued to learn about leadership. And I've sought out great leaders to mentor me so that I can keep learning as well. If you want to continue developing as a leader, you need to do the same thing. You need to spend the time with the leaders and the best leaders you can find. If you're just starting out, you may want to spend time with people in your field so that you can master the basics of your chosen endeavor. But once you have that foundation, it's very important to learn leadership and learn leadership from multiple fields and from people in many professions. And here's what I've learned too, guys, over 30 years. No matter what the profession, the principles of leadership remain pretty much the same. Every effective leadership mentor makes the development of leaders one of his highest priorities in life. He knows that the potential of the organization depends on the growth of its leadership. And the more leaders there are, the greater the chances of success are. You know, Casper was very kind to allude to my former success in a company. And the real reason for that was the fact that we did raise up. We became a magnet in that company for every person who had high leadership capability and potential. And it was absolutely a thing of beauty to work. And you know, Casey and John talked about the 5-year break. And you know, that it really resonated with me because it was just at about 5 years of unrelenting effort in that company where myself and my immediate key core of 3 leaders were basically responsible for doing everything in that company, building the company, telling the story, running the conferences, keeping corporate on track, you name it, we were involved in it. And over 5 years, that resulted in us being able to build a core of leadership that ultimately took over. And I've mentioned before in previous trainings where one of the nicest days of my career was the one where I went to my first conference in that company, and all I had to do was sit in the front row of the amphitheater and watch my core leaders run the entire conference. The company benefited greatly. No matter how capable any one individual is, never develop the hybris to believe that you are what is causing a whole company to be there. The more leaders you generate, the more value you have to your company, the more stable your company is, and the more benefit every member of that company derives. And if you first develop your leadership qualities, you'll be able to be capable of attracting people with leadership potential. And when you do that, you earn their respect and you get the opportunity to develop them into even better leaders. Next slide, Casper, please. Now, an environment such as that where leadership is valued and taught becomes an asset to a leadership mentor. It not only attracts what I call eagles, but it also helps them learn to fly higher and faster. An eagle environment is one where the leader can vision, offers the incentives, encourages creativity, allows the risks and provides accountability. Do that long enough, folks, with enough people, and you'll develop a leadership culture where eagles begin to flock. Once you understand the laws of reproduction, you recognize its incredible impact on your organization or on any organization. If a company has poor leadership, what little leadership it has will only get worse. If a company has strong leaders and they're reproducing themselves, then the leadership just keeps getting better and better. The bottom line is, guys, it all starts at the top, which means it starts with you. Because like it or not, you are the CEO of your company, your business, your organization. You're at the top of your organization. And it is up to you to determine how large or how small that organization will be and remain. It starts at the top because it takes a leader to raise up another leader. Followers can't do it. Neither can institutional programs. It takes a leader to know a leader, to show a leader, and to grow a leader. Folks, that's the law of reproduction. I appreciate your time. Next week, we're going to talk about the law of the buy-in. Casper, back to you.